So is wholesaling real estate legal in the state of Florida? In Florida, when you're talking about wholesaling, you have to be very careful because there's a law that they passed that I'm going to teach you about, but it's very easy to comply with it, but you have to know what it is and how to comply. So I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. I'm also going to show you in today's video at the end an alternative to wholesaling that you can also do in Florida that has all the benefits of wholesaling without any of these risks from these disclosures. Florida does have a law they passed in 2024, which is HB 2747. And that law requires that as a wholesaler, you adhere to certain rules. First thing to know is that yes, you can wholesale, but you have to give specific disclosures and you have to avoid doing certain things that you're not allowed to do. So make sure you stay on to the end of this video because you're going to want to know all the details to wholesaling in Florida. First thing to know, yes, you can do it, but you should be wholesaling to investors, not to retail buyers. That's the number one thing. So you can't, under Florida law, advertise a property that you have under contract as though you owned it and you're the seller. So for example, you can't put up ads in Craigslist or some other places where you're advertising to get a retail buyer so that they will come in and buy the property thinking that you're the owner. You also can't act like you're a broker. You can't act like you're representing the seller in some way. Those are broker activities, and those are ones where you need a brokerage license to do those. So you don't want to get in the way of that. You can have a lot of big fines and big trouble for doing that. So instead, do it legally. And frankly, with wholesaling, you're better off selling to investors anyway, because the properties that are more likely to be the wholesale candidates are the ones that are not fit for a retail person to live in. They're properties that have had fire damage or water damage or other issues that make them not appropriate to sell through a realtor. So instead, that house is more appropriate for a real estate investor, is either going to be a fix and flip person or a person who likes to fix up properties and rent them out. They're not appropriate for retail buyers anyway. But the mistake that you want to avoid is do not advertise that property as though you're a broker. Don't advertise it as though you're the owner of the property. Instead, work with investors who know that you're a wholesaler, and also don't advertise the properties. That's not the way to be a wholesaler anyway. When you're a wholesaler, what you want to do is build up a bench or a group of buyers that are investors that are looking for places they can rent, looking for places they flip, and you want a reliable group of those people who will fight to get your deals. And they're out there. An easy way to find them: just do a Google search for I buy houses in your area. Go down to your local real estate foreclosure auction where they're auctioning off houses at sheriff sales, and you're going to have wholesale buyers, which are investors who are looking for inventory. And these people often have access to capital, but not access to enough deals, and that's where the wholesaler fits into the equation anyway. It is hard when you're a house flipper to find places that are cheap enough for you to flip and make a profit. It's very difficult. So a lot of the house flippers look to work with wholesalers who are talented at finding properties at great prices where they can afford to flip it. The magic number for a house flipper is they want to pay no more than 70% of retail value minus their fix-up cost. If they can do that, they'll buy them all day. So if you as a wholesaler can get it under contract cheaper than that, like let's say 60 cents on the dollar, then you make a nice spread. And if you're talking about an average house in America, about a $400,000 house, if you can get it under contract for 60% of retail rather than 70%, you've got about a $40,000 profit lined up. So it can be super profitable, but you have to do it correctly. Now you have to disclose in writing to your buyer that you only have what's called an equitable interest in the property. You're not the owner. An equitable interest in the property means that you have a legal interest, you just don't have ownership. And your interest arises from you having the property under contract. And you can disclose that to your investor buyers all day. They don't care. They can understand that you're wholesaling it. That's not their concern. Their concern is just getting a property at the right price. You do not want to have to try to explain that to a retail buyer because it's simply not going to work. It's just going to spook them and it's a waste of time. You also have to specify in your wholesale contract that you have with the seller that you are a wholesaler and that you're putting it under contract with the intent to assign it or resell the contract to someone else. Now, personally, I don't think this is a big issue. What I would suggest is put it in your contract, just stick it in the middle. And it's not really very relevant to the person who's selling you the property. Now, it may sound like a relevant thing, but the fact is, at settlement, they're going to get their money anyway, so it really shouldn't matter. But just put it in the contract. And it's not that you're hiding it or not disclosing it. When they read the contract, they'll see it. Just don't highlight it. Because if you think about any contract, we're only talking to people about a few of the things in any given contract. Like, for example, if you go to, say, rent a car, you want to know what kind of car is it, how many doors, how many people does it fit, what's it cost for the insurance, how much does it cost per day, what's the total cost with all the fees. That's what you're concerned about. But when you go to rent your car, how long is the contract? And those things are many, many, many paragraphs long. All contracts are like that. So you want to highlight and talk about the relevant things. To me, the relevant things to a seller are how much are you willing to pay for the property? When is settlement going to be? Do they have to do any work ahead of time? And are there any other requirements they have to do ahead of settlement? Those are relevant things to a seller. What you're going to do with it afterwards, not so much. So just make sure you do put it in writing, but don't make that a thing that you're highlighting. Highlight the price they're going to get, the timing of the settlement, and the fact probably as a wholesaler, you can tell them they don't need to do anything to the property. They don't need to clean it up. They don't need to undergo property inspections. They don't have an FHA inspector going through there and then demanding they do a bunch of work to it. So all that simplifies the process for the seller. If you do these things, you can safely wholesale properties in Florida. And I'd also tell you, Florida is a great place to be doing a wholesaling business. The reason I say that, it has a very active market and generally a market that has rising prices. And in any real estate investing strategy, whether it's wholesaling or fixing and flipping or even holding for rentals, you want to be doing it in a place where the values are rising. That's where the real money is. When values are flat or, gosh forbid, declining, it gets much more difficult to do any real estate investing strategy successfully. In a declining market, I would just say forget it, don't do anything. In a flat market, it's just hard. It's just a dogfight to make any money. In a rising market, that's where when people get their hands on a property, it's basically more valuable every day than it was the prior day, and that adds up so that it's easier to flip properties, it's easier to hold rentals, your rents are going up because the demand is going up. So I think Florida is a fantastic place to be in the real estate business because there are more people moving there, and there are only going to be more people moving there because of the dumb things that other states with high taxes are doing. Because frankly, they're desperate and they have to collect those high taxes in places like Illinois and New York and Connecticut and New Jersey because of the structure of their government. And it's really impractical for most politicians to pull back on government benefits or to raise taxes. So you can rest assured that the high tax problem is going to remain a problem in those states that are driving people to move to Florida. And primarily those are the high tax eastern states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Those states are driving people out, and that's going to continue. So it's a great idea you have. Just make sure you do it right. Definitely read the law and make sure that you comply with it. So in short, don't act like a broker. Don't represent that you're someone that you're not. Like, don't tell a seller that you're the buyer. Instead, disclose it in the middle of your contract that, yes, you're intending to wholesale the property. It shouldn't make any difference to them anyway. And remember, all contracts are long, and you can never go over each clause. And if they do ask you about it, just be honest. Just tell them, yeah, I have a network of buyers that will buy properties that need work, properties that are not appropriate to retail out. And I spend my time finding the properties, and then I get a fee for doing that. So just do that, and you can do it safely. And I want to tell you, it's also a very good thing to be pursuing in Florida. Now, if you want to look at a different aspect, I have a business that I do that I think has a lot of similar benefits to wholesaling, but it's not wholesaling. That business is called Overages, and that's a business where you help people who've lost a property to a foreclosure sale get back a refund from some of the proceeds of that auction, because often the properties sell for much more than the taxes that were due, and that money is available to the former owner to claim if they put in a claim for it. I've made a business out of finding those lists of monies that are available to claim, finding the homeowners, offering to hook them up with their money for a percentage of what we get. Makes a really nice business. Right person for this business, someone who wants to make a lot of money, but also wants to do it in a way where they're helping a lot of people. It's really great business. And you can do it in most states. You can certainly do it in Florida. You can do it in neighboring states. So I think it's a great business to look at. If you want to know more about that, then click on the link down below for my intro to the Overages business video. That's a short 15-minute video where I go into the basics of overages and give you the next step if you really think it's something you want to pursue. I think it's a great business because it doesn't take money to get into, like wholesaling. You're not paying money. Like wholesaling, you're not paying money to get a property under contract. In overages, you're not paying money. Instead, you're doing the work, getting the money, and getting a percentage of it. And that's kind of the same thing as wholesaling. Benefits are terrific, and you're really helping people. So if you want to check that out, click on the link down below. If you have questions or want to know more about wholesaling or anything else, put them down below. My staff and I go through the comments and questions, and hopefully I'll get to your question. And next time I'm answering a direct question, it'll be your question about real estate investing or law. That's my areas of expertise, and I'd love to help you out. So thanks for being here. This is Bob Diamond. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about wholesaling and real estate investing and tax liens and tax sales and overages and mortgage foreclosure sales, definitely poke around my channel. Those are the topics that I talk about. That's what I've done in my career since 1989. So I have lots to share with you, and I'd love to help you stand on my shoulders, go far beyond wherever I went, because you can do that when you stand on the shoulders of someone who's gone before you. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.